Hi, my name is Michael Rosenbrock, and I'm really excited to give this fire starter talk today on wellbeing at the heart of learning communities, sharing some of our remote learning journey this year and what we have learnt from it. A little bit by way of introduction. So a bit about myself. I'm the assistant principal responsible for curriculum at a school called Wodonga Senior Secondary College. I'm also a teacher of maths, science and multimedia. Previously, I've worked for the local curriculum authority here in Victoria, Australia, and before all of this, my career changed into teaching from working in the aerospace and automotive industries in the United States, Germany, and here in Australia. A little bit about the school. So we're a government co-educational school with around 820 students in the final 3 years of schooling. We're in a large regional town of about 40,000 people, about 3.5 hours drive from Melbourne, the capital of Victoria. Our students have significant educational disadvantage, which plays a big important role in the work that we do. A little bit about our 2020 journey. We started the year actually with smoke and bushfires. The hill in the back of that picture there was well on fire at some point during the year, and we spent a lot of summer, a lot of January and February wearing masks to keep the smoke out of our lungs. And then obviously, like most of the rest of the world, as we then went through the year in our autumn and winter, we had a journey of lockdowns and remote learning. A first series of remote learning in April and May, followed by returning back onto site. And then as the second wave hit Victoria, a border closure because we're near the state border, and also a second lockdown in August and September. And we're now emerging into perhaps a COVID normal, where we're back on site doing our teaching and learning on site, but also lots of measures in place to deal with the pandemic. So it's been a big year so far. Now a little bit of a dive into our experience this year and a journey towards placing wellbeing at the heart of what we do. So leadership has been vital, and look, there were some initial fears in the media, in the broader community, that a highly disadvantaged cohort such as ours would disengage from remote learning or from learning off-site. And we made a conscious decision as leadership to put our very best foot forward, to use all the available evidence that we could find to support our decision making, and to really explicitly place our confidence in our students and our staff and our families to rise to the challenge. And I'm really pleased to say that has worked. That's come true. We also focused on working on what we can control, working with what we know, and really modelling that for everyone in our community, to make it really clear that that's the way to deal with a situation where there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of change. Communication has been vital, making sure it's transparent and regular, and really all of that informed by a deep compassion and care for everyone in our community, understanding that it's challenging times, the challenges are different for everyone, and to work with that. And all of this supported by strong processes, structures and systems which allow things to work and get done. Really, an important step very early on in our journey was looking to articulate what was our role in this pandemic. Things are very different. So we spent a lot of time working on what are the actual needs of our students in this time? What needs are we fulfilling? And develop this balanced picture here of student needs in remote learning, looking at really everything that the school community fulfills. And really down to, for some students, safety and security is vital and it's provided by the school. For others, connectedness and community is something that the school provides so vitally, but also we've got academic learning growth and we've got aspirations and pathways and engagement. There's that full picture, and really this was a really important stepping stone towards looking at the bigger picture of wellbeing and not simply expecting to transfer what we do on site to off-site remote learning, and focusing on balance. So focusing on balancing all of these things and recognising that we have a vital role in all of these things in our students' lives and supporting every single student to be successful. This informed us changing how we use time, so cutting by more than half the amount of essentially face-to-face time that would happen during the week, and really prioritising health, well-being, connectedness and agency. So changing our schedule, putting a health and well-being afternoon in the middle of the week, independent learning time for students to take ownership of their learning, shorter virtual classes, and scheduled times for students and teachers to connect one-on-one and both in smaller groups on a weekly basis. So really changing what we do and overall really minimising administration, absolutely. So really this is all about prioritising the well-being of everyone and a wellness rather than a sickness model. So not looking at those who are just those who are struggling or those who are not okay, but looking at everyone. How can we proactively support everyone? Privileging that time for connection, physical activity and downtime. and recognising that we all fulfil many roles in life and allowing flexibility for staff and students to fulfil those different roles, particularly in the challenging times of a pandemic. And having regular check-ins, so one-on-one check-ins for every staff member, every student and every family to maintain that connection. So all of this informed by that model, that picture of needs, but also looking at it from a well-being, from a wellness perspective. Another example of one of the many things we've done is that little postcard I got there from the school dog in the mail. Just reminding everyone, maintaining that connection to the school and also a bit of lightheartedness. And I think amongst all of this, rising to the challenges of 2020 is a shared purpose, and it's powerful having such a shared purpose. And to have that as a school and to prioritise wellbeing within that has been a very powerful journey. So what are our early outcomes from this experience? Our indicators of success. We've had really high attendance during remote learning with 95% of our students engaged, which is a little bit higher than the same time in the previous year. Excellent levels of access engagement with our remote learning technology, so everyone able to use the technology, not needing to do a hard copy or a limited on-site program. And sustaining engagement through both of our lockdowns. Coming back for a second lockdown and a second series of remote learning and maintaining engagement has been a great success and a great achievement, something we're very proud of. And also, based on our check-ins and also our tracking surveys, physical and mental health of staff and students has been well maintained, and we've got consistently positive feedback from staff, students and families, as there's an example on the slide there of things people were grateful for, which is really heartening to see. And also early indicators of academic success and progress are quite strong, although we haven't finished our year to get final results. So some of the things that we've learned and what are we wondering about? A really big thing has been how we use time. So this situation meant we had a lot less traditional instructional time, and that led teachers to focus on transferable skills, metacognition, self-regulation, student ownership, timely assessment and feedback, and getting that triage happening and being very responsive. And these are even more vital for disadvantaged students, these things, and they're even more vital when you're looking at the full picture of wellbeing. So this really was a good point of reflection on how can we use time more wisely? What can we change in the way we use time when we go back to perhaps a different normal? And in terms of any fears about loss of time, Hattie and Solberg both give examples of how there's plenty of evidence that the amount of time you spend in school, the amount of instructional time, does not necessarily mean better outcomes. Another thing really reflecting on is that we have demonstrated again, but as has been demonstrated in the past, that teachers, schools, systems are really capable of change. One of these changes was having greater flexibility, and that's been invaluable for staff and students and been really well received. School systems can be quite rigid, but allowing people to fulfill other roles in their life and to balance out their needs has been really, really positive and something that we need to think about how we can do in the future. And yes, it's been a big change this year, and it's shown we can do change, but change is almost a constant in many school systems, and we need to think about making it so it's not exhaustive and not counterproductive and not constant and not chasing the latest shiny thing that's going to fix schooling, fix education. Yes, we can change for the better, but can we move away from little fixes and make the big longer term decisions to change our practice and stay the course, not change again in 6 months' time? And a big part of this is something that is not new. This is not a new consideration. It's been around for decades, but the schooling machine. Schools and school systems can be consumed by the intense work of getting the curriculum done, ticking off those requirements, improving measured outcomes, preparing for employment, and managing the risks, the many, many risks, and the many societal pressures that come to bear on schools. Can we get off this hamster wheel? Is that truly fit for purpose? And what is the purpose of schools? Are we making more employees for society, or are we doing something bigger? Are we looking after? Are we creating people who are well and who can be well and have well-being and be happy, healthy, meaningful contributors to society? So if we placed well-being at the heart of education, what would that look like? The recognition of the many needs, where we sort of started our journey this year looking at needs for students, for staff, for families, to provide a community that is caring and supportive, that gives opportunities for challenge and growth, and that provides belonging. That beautiful quote from Brené Brown, "You are imperfect, You are wired for struggle, but you are worthy of love and belonging. And so much of that would be encapsulated by having well-being at the heart of education and creating a supportive place where meaning can be made and purpose can be found. And so many challenges we face in the world in these times. If people can be well in their education, can find meaning, can find purpose, can find belonging in a community, how much will that help us as a global society? So the challenges ahead, and perhaps a starting of a better way. If you'd asked me last year what was this year going to be about, I would have said School Strike for Climate is going to dominate this year. Now, that's not been the case as the pandemic has arrived. How honest are we when we talk about the future with students, with young people, even with our communities? When we talk about different jobs, automation, changing employment, that needs to be situated in the reality that we are facing climate change. We are facing all that will come with that. We are facing more crisis and challenge in the future. It is not just 2020, one tough year. There is a lot more to come. And we need to look really honestly at what those things are. We cannot just push them to the side and assume it's all going to be fixed. We need to deal with those challenges that are ahead. And well-being is the key. If we can support people to be resilient, to deal with crisis, with failure, and to be well, and to discuss these challenges honestly and openly and address them, then we will be better able to cope when they arise. So to design for holistic well-being, what could that look like? This time now, this is not a new need, this is not a new thing to identify, but we have an opportunity in the pandemic and the change that's happened, and we have a challenge ahead in climate change, biodiversity collapse, and all the other challenges that we know are coming. Can we put well-being at the heart now? Can we build learning communities that support everyone, to recognise what they value, what matters for them, for their well-being, to prioritise them and their needs, to learn how to do that, to identify those greatest challenges of our times and respond to them with compassion, with empathy, looking towards justice, to find what interest inspires them and ignites their passion, to find a passion that can bring fulfillment, to embrace transparency and failure and their important place in learning and growth, and to belong and make meaning from what they do. And in doing so, can we leave behind the outdated notions of accountability and performance, the kind of idea that schools and school systems and educators are failing and need to be fixed? Yes, I'm making a case for change, but not because there is not so much good and so much greatness in what is already happening. And can we move beyond the simplicity of mass-producing useful workers? Because what we want to produce, I believe, is people who are healthy and well and can thrive in whatever comes ahead. So thank you very much for listening to my impassioned brief talk, and I'd love to take any questions.